Have you ever created a happy moments list? Aloha, my beautiful ones. If this is your first time joining the Unraveling podcast, my name is May. I'm your neurospicy cyberwitch, here to support you unravel anything that has to do with your witchiness, with your highly sensitivity and or your ADHD or other forms of neurospiciness that you bring with yourself. And right now we're in wave number 5 of my Surf Your Energy Wave series, where I take you from overwhelm to self-trust, self-empowerment, especially if you are, like I just mentioned, a witchy and or highly sensitive ADHDer slash neurospicy person. And today I want to talk to you about this because, I mean, if we wrap up, let me take a moment back. If we wrap up to the moment, first wave was, redefining for yourself to change the narrative for yourself. Wave number 2 was about that everything is energy. And of course, if everything is energy, we can move it, right? Because we have the power to do that, right? Number 3, wave number 3 was about how everything, the world is what you think. So everything that you think, that you believe, that you carry in your energy system, that's what is being reflected to the outside world. And wave number 4 was about, the empowerment that I wanted to give you, that you have between, being in the victim mode or actually switching, towards creative mode and actually seeing those moments that want to keep you in the victim mode, that those are actually your strengths to where you can become creative. And with all of this that I've been talking to you, one line goes through all of them, and that is that to be able to do that in your life, it's all about, being the observer of your life first. And I know it's a hard one, especially nowadays, especially, because we want to do stuff. We want to get things done. We want to, why can't I finally get this habit in? Why can't I finally, change this? Why can't I finally let go of that? And I hear you. I understand you. I've been there, really. I'm like, if you look at my astrology chart, being patient was not one of my number one things. But I have to tell you that my life changed the moment I learned to take a break first, and then to start to become an observer. Instead of immediately trying to fix something, I started to create lists in my mind. I did them in my mind because I don't know why, but maybe it's because I anchor them in a certain way. Or maybe it is because I do sometimes write them down. I just forget where. And, being the wonderful ADHD that I am, or maybe you probably resonate with that as well. Do you have more than one journal and different colors and for different things? And then you sort of like halfway through stopped using them and then they just get forgotten? Yeah. So that's why, or maybe because of that, my whole system started to imprint certain things in my mind. And I feel like for right now, I'll talk to you more about the form of lists that you can keep. But I think for right now, the most important one, and I say this because this is the one that I started with as well, because it helped me understand myself best, was my happy moments list, where I wanted to find out where my happy moments lie. And if you're wondering why I'm starting with this, it's because, I know that one of the biggest struggles of any neurospicy and or highly sensitive person out there is that because we have been so intertwined with anybody else's energies and trying to fit in and trying to be whoever we thought that they expected us to be, we kind of forgot who we are. We kind of forgot, or we might know, but we're not, we're like, I don't know if I want to show this, right? So we've been sort of hiding those parts of ourselves. And the thing is that, it's time. It's just time. If you're listening, at whatever point in your timeline you're hearing this, is because the universe wants to remind you it's time to change that, to make a change. And you can only start to make the change is to start being your observant and start with the happy moments. Start with what really makes you happy. Because most of the time we can say what we don't like, right? But it's harder to say what we actually like. And again, this is not something, because I want you to understand this part very importantly. I don't want to change you. It's not about changing you. It's about actually bringing out the true you, your true self, the one that is there, that has been hiding all the time. The reason why ADHD, and this is like, I stand 100% behind this. The reason why I believe most of neurospicy people and highly sensitive people burn out, and why they have tendencies for depression, is because they don't live their own true self, because they think that they can't, that they're not allowed to, because the world is not to, but these people expect you to be this way, those people expect you to be that way. And so we're completely all the time trying to be somebody for everybody else. And we forget to be our authentic selves. And I know this can be scary. And I can tell you, because I still remember, I can't remember the exact date. That's the only thing that's really weird, but I can tell you that it was 2013, where I was sitting there. I had my therapy, and with my therapist, we had gotten to the point where I realized, and I was already, being a shamanic practitioner, I was already on my spiritual path. I already had a very good connection to spirit guides, but I realized my biggest trouble were, the cognitive thoughts that I had. And the therapist found those points because, and I don't want to, I'm just using my multicultural part to explain it best, because, that's how I felt explains it best. There is this truth inside of me that is a person that learned values from my German father and my Chinese Ecuadorian mom. And here I'm saying it specifically because it's two cultures that were brought up in one country, right? And then came the third one with the German culture from my dad. And those values were given to me. And as neurodivergent people, we tend to receive way more, how do you call them? Like, we're being told that we're not, that we're doing this wrong, that we're doing that wrong, right? So your whole brain is connected to the negative sides. So I was only seeing the negative sides from the German values I received. I was only seeing the negative side from the Latin American and from the Chinese values that I received. All of these were seen as negative. And that's what I was seeing. I wasn't seeing my true self until my therapist told me, you have a treasure chest of cultural values that you can just grab. And I'm giving them to you as an example, because it doesn't matter whether your cultural parents had different countries and cultures within themselves or not. Because even if they come from the same country, they still had different values. They had some that intertwined. That's why they got together and became your parents. But there were values in there that were completely different. And every child has that we can choose between the values that we're given from our parents, right? The problem with us neurospicy people and highly sensitive people in this world is that at some point we think that we need to please everybody else. It's a people pleaser we all have. And then we start acting for everybody else. And then we start doing stuff for everybody else, but we forget who we are. Or maybe somewhere in the back of our minds, we do know, but we just don't, we're too afraid to actually be who we are, because we're afraid that they're not going to like us and so on, and that we're not going to be good enough or too much. You see where I'm getting? That's the point where we go for, oh no, I'm going to be too much if I allow this. And I'm telling you, because same here. I was so afraid. 2013, that's one of the dates that I highly remember. And I remember, again, another very, very transformative time in 2016 where, on one of my spiritual journeys, that was on Hawaii, by the way, where, I was going and learning through all those beautiful things. And again, I got to a point where it was like, go live your life, live your hearted dream. And I'm like, no, I'm so afraid. I was so afraid of so many things. I was so afraid of, of being myself. But the time is done. The time is over. And it's time for us to be our authentic selves. The world has moved, has changed. And you might not yet feel it in your direct surroundings, but that's where we want to get, right? Remember how we talked about the world is what you think. So if you think that the world is not accepting for you, that's something we need to work on, right? And when we work on ourselves for it, the better it is. And what is one of the tools that will help you get there? Make a list of your happy moments, of all those moments where you forget the time, of all those moments where you just embrace it. And to tell you the truth, this list became my substitute for gratefulness journaling. I understand if you feel like it, please do it. The typical that everybody says, keep your, what are you grateful for? Write that down every morning, write that down every evening. And for me, I started doing it, but it felt weird because what was happening during the day? In between those two times that you were writing the journal. And for me, it felt stronger to say, no, I'm so grateful for this moment right now. And that's how my happy moments list actually also became a gratefulness list inside my head, meaning that in the moment, and this is also something that I remember from that year, that I was walking in the city center with some friends and I just saw the sun setting. And because it was a city center, then there was someone doing music, and then there were a couple of trees in the middle of the city center. So I had this beautiful music, I had a couple of trees, and then I saw the sun setting, on top of this, historical city center. And I just remember how my heart just went, wow, the music, the warmth of the sun setting, and all of it. You see how I'm telling you right now? That's how it's ingrained in my head, because that was one of the very first things that I noted in my list of happy moments. That was a happy moment. I wanted to live more of those moments. And because of that, I'm one of those people that sometimes just, when I'm riding my bike or when I'm walking around somewhere and I'll see something beautiful, I'll give it a second or 3 or 5 or 10. I'll give it a moment to really stand still and just look at it and watch and just enjoy those little tiny moments, because those are the moments that make us happy. A couple of days ago, I was going through a park and then I saw some geese, drinking out of a puddle. There's a lake next to it, but somehow they wanted to drink out of the puddle. But it was so beautiful for me. I just took a moment and embraced that. That was a happy moment for me. Just to give you a couple of examples, what you can do. I had a happy moment talking to friends. I had a happy moment eating food, beautiful, delicious food that either I made or someone else made. Those are happy moments. And to tell you the truth, I realized that one of the things that repeated often in my list was, talking, having deep, deep, deep conversations with my friends. And that's what, paved the way for me to become a coach to people, to tell you, to show you there's a way out there. There's this path. And we have that possibility if we do that. And one of the things to get there is to become the observer, to find out. How are you going to know if you don't try, if you don't start giving those moments space in your life and giving those moments a list where you can always come back to it? So whenever you have an overwhelm, whenever you have a moment of sadness, come back to this list. Remember the beautiful moments that exist in your life that are there and just waiting for you to be written down. And just like the happy moments, if you want to. But again, this is something that takes the whole thing a little further, is to make a list of your crashes, of the moments where, where it's not so good. What moments did overwhelm you? What people overwhelmed you? What situations made you sad? Or, you know what I mean? Like, make a list. The way you do the happy moments list, that one's supposed to be for you to lift you up. And then the other list is for you to get to know yourself. In all of this, I want you to take a view that's, like taking one step back. We don't want to go too much into detail of, this person or this situation overwhelmed you because that person was there and the energy was so bad from that person. So no, we want to, take a step back and just focus on, okay, there was a situation, if you want to, you can add the people, or even, if you feel the need that you need to describe the energy that was there, yes. But I want it more focused on you, like you were in this situation and that drained you. Let's just look at it. Let's just be the observers. We're not fixing something right now. We're just in the observant mode. We want to find out, write down, if you want to, as detailed as possible for you. But I want you to already start practicing to take it from one step back, like stepping one step back and going like, okay, so this is the situation. This is what happening to yourself. That way you can find the patterns. That way you can find out like, oh, so that's something. One of my favorites that I like to be very aware of, because then I know where I need to shift things, is moments where I start procrastinating. Because for me, procrastination is something that my body does when I am overwhelmed. It's actually a sign of overwhelm for myself, because I've watched myself, and instead of, trying to do stuff a lot, for me, my body shuts down. It's like, no, right now, no, we're procrastinating, right? But then there's also this form of, sometimes procrastination is not procrastination. Sometimes it's about taking a moment, taking a break, and giving myself permission to have that break. So, but where do I see the difference? See, that's where this observer happens. Because the more you observe yourself, was this a procrastination because I was overwhelmed? Or was this a procrastination because something inside me felt like, I need to take a moment. I need to take a break. And instead of feeling bad, I'm allowing myself to take a break of an hour and then I'll keep on working, right? There's some nuances. And the only way to find out is when we become observers. And with this observation, you start not just being the observer, but you start making lists for yourself to organize yourself. And nowadays, lists are easy to do. That's why I call myself cyberwitch, because I use technology to help myself. So if I can't memorize it in my brain, if I can't remember here, Trello board, Airtable, Evernote, just the simple notes, every phone has a notes app, right? Every phone has that. Have the one that has this list and have the one that has, the happy moments list, and have the one that has a crash list, for example. Let's call it crash list. Or, there's different forms. If you don't want to be carrying a journal with yourself all the time. Or, if you don't like writing, use voice notes. Start writing voice notes, right? Nowadays, you can even automate that to turn into, a Trello board thing or something like that. There are so many ways to support you to do this, to become this observer of yourself so that you can see it. Trust me that after a while, it's not so much about going back and looking at the lists. You might want to do that to reminisce a little bit, but trust me, with time, you start becoming the observer that you just realize, oh, this was a procrastination like that. Oh, okay. Oh, this was a form of taking a break. Or, oh my God, look at this beautiful happy moment. And I realized, I'm happy as when I'm doing crafts. Wow, maybe crafts is your thing. Maybe that's going to take you to do something. to become a crafty artist on YouTube or something like that, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I think these are the best examples that I can give to you with the self-observation. So if there's one thing I want you to take away of wave 5 is that to become an observer, not so much an observer that immediately wants to fix something or change something. No, really give yourself grace and time to just become the observer. Observe as neutral as possible, and then trust in the process that with that, you will become clearer about yourself and who you are, right? So these are the lists. And with the first list that I talked about, it's also, you can also just write down moments where you did good, where you did something good, where you were in alignment with yourself. But we'll go deeper into that in a later episode, probably. All right. With that said, my beautiful soul, you got the 5 waves today. We did a little recap. I hope you like them and enjoy them. And please, if you resonate with any of them, let me know. Just send me an email or put it in the comments, and trust that I will reply. I might take a little bit, but I will reply because I want to take the time to reply to them. Just to let me know how you felt, how that made you feel. With that said, my beautiful soul, have a wonderful, blessed week, and hopefully a very, neutral form of observance about yourself.